would like to give a huge shout out to Gundam Central Shop. This is where I get all of my third party model kits. They have been a huge supporter to the channel. So if you are looking into getting your own third party model kits, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description.
Hey, what is up everyone, and welcome back to the Animus, and today we're going to be reviewing the Mecha Industries 1100 Ixchel model kit. Let's get right to it.
Now, jumping straight into the unboxing for this model kit, the Ixchel does feature a lot of beautiful art when it comes to the box art itself. And it is something that I've always enjoyed about Mecha model kits, where they always focus on their arts and they do a lot of good things when it comes to that. It's not something that is very a lot more seen in most model kits, but nowadays most of these third-party companies are focusing their art and they're actually putting a lot of effort into the design for the actual box art. Now, this model does feature around 22 runners, and then in my case it brought 2 bases plus the water slide decals. And the actual amount of detail that this model kit brought is super good to enjoy. Panel lining, scribing, and any other extra detail that you might want to add to the model. It is so good. And the color separation, it looks like it's going to be very intense in this build. Now, when building this kit, I did not experience any issues whatsoever. Biggest thing that I want to mention is that it didn't have any type of actual fitment issues either, which is very surprising. One other thing I want to mention is that the kit is undergated, so if you are going to build this kit, you won't have to worry about much since it will require minimal cleaning. So welcome back for another Animus review, and today we're going to be reviewing the Mecha Industries 1100 model kit Ixchel. Now, I want to make sure that I thank Gundam Central for providing this kit for review to the channel. However, because this kit was provided to the channel, I don't want you guys to think that I'm not going to give you guys my honest opinion. I've said it multiple times before. I will always give you guys my opinion when it comes to these model kits. It's going to be completely honest. And if the model kit is not worth your time, I will definitely say so. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and start this review. Now, for the tools that I used for this model kit, I did use my single bladed nippers, my second set of single bladed nippers, and I did use my hobby knife. I did not need any other tools for this model as the model is undergated, so it was very smooth build, very clean build as well. However, I decided to put in a little bit more extra effort since I am going to paint this model kit in the future. Once once the reviews calm down and I just catch up to everything that I need to review for now, then I'm gonna be tackling all those paint jobs when it comes to these models. Now, another thing I want to mention is that there are some areas in this model kit that have nut marks. Aside from that, or stress marks, aside from that, most of the areas that have nut marks are hidden by armor pieces. And if they're not hidden by armor pieces, they're easily removable by either scratching your nail on them or by going ahead and sanding the area. Now, usually for the next segment of the review, I hit you guys with all the spare parts that this model kit brought, but it didn't bring any. All the parts for this model kit are specific for this model kit. You will not have any leftover parts in any runners. At least I didn't have any. So just keep that in mind whenever you are building this model kit. If you have something left over, that means something's missing from the actual model kit itself. Next up, we do have the water slide decals for this model kit right here. And let me tell you, the amount of detail that this model kit has, I am very glad that they actually went with the minimalist side of water slide decals for this model. Most of the water slide decals are accents, so you might not be able to see it right away, but it does have a lot of white detail that goes on the model kit, and that just accentuates all the panel lines that this model kit has. I am going to save these because whenever I do paint the model kit, I will be using these. Now, for the hands of this model kit does bring 4 sets of hands. It does include a closed fist hands, which I have them right now in the model. It also has an open palm hands, a gripping hand for your weapons or your beam sabers, and it has a trigger finger hand for your rifle. Now, I do want to mention that these hands are stationary hands or fixed hands, so the only thing that you have in this hand that actually move is going to be the actual thumb. Now, up next, we're going to talk about the bases for this kit. And yes, I say bases because in my case, the model kit that I got included 2 bases. It includes your Mecha Industries standard
base display base here with the runner for the parts. So I didn't use this one, I used the other one, but just keep that in mind. You know, you do have the option of using either one or the other. In my case, I decided to go with the nice custom one instead, but I am guessing that it's a first run thing where some people would get the custom base, and then the other ones would just get this base. So I'm not sure how the sequence of things goes. I remember that at some point they had mentioned that the custom base would incur additional cost. I'm not too sure how that is working out. All I know is that for now, some people are getting their model kits. You know, let me know in the comments if you did get them, which base did yours bring? Did it bring both, or did it just bring one? Now for the standard base here, it does have an area that it looks like it could house a picture of some sort, but I didn't get a picture. So I'm sure that that it's one of those things where you can just go ahead and customize it however you want and then go from there. And now for what I think is going to be one of the best bases that a model kit includes in 2025. And the reason why I say that is because this base, it looks insanely good when it's on display. You have an elevated base that you could go ahead and modify. I do have one complaint about this, and is I wish they would have just had a water slide decal sheet with these water slides that they added to the kit, to the base, instead of just applying them to the base themselves. And the reason why I say that is because now whenever I do paint this base, these are just gonna go away. Basically, they're just gonna get sanded off or painted over. I'm probably gonna end up sanding them so they don't look, the areas don't look uneven. But it's one of those things, like, you know, you can't win them all, I guess. But I do wish they would have included a water slide decal sheet with the details for the base separate, instead of just adding it to this. Now let's talk about this base. This base has a few hidden gimmicks here, because it is not a stationary elevated base. So you do have your 3 rods in the bottom of the base that also allow you to lower the base in case you do not want an elevated pose. Maybe you're limited with space or something like that, and then you just want to go ahead and lower it, and it just looks really good either way. If you want to go ahead and elevate it again, all you got to do is push it from the bottom and then lock it in place like so. And then you have your base, which is elevated again. And this thing looks really good, even though it does have the water slide decals there, and it's going to be a shame when I paint it. This base is probably one of the nicest base I've gotten so far in a model kit, because it just looks unique, and the possibilities for paint and detail are just crazy with this. Next thing I want to talk about is going to be the posing rod. Now, this, you have a few options. You can either pose your kit stationary without this on the base, and it does leave the little gap there, but whenever you're posing your kit, you're probably going to face it forward, so it's not really that noticeable. Or you can go ahead and pose the model kit with the rod itself. Now, I am going to say this because it's, you know, some people might get confused. The model kit has 2 connection points when it comes to the bases. Now, it does have a connection point in the backpack, which I will show you once I get to that point. That connection to the backpack is more for the white style base, because it's a lot more elevated. Now, this style base will go in the actual connection that it has in the hip. So just keep that in mind. Don't fret. I know I got confused at one point, and I said, look, I don't understand why would they include something that's so short, I can't pose it, etc., because I forgot that the model had 2 connection areas when it came for their base. Aside from that, this base includes extreme detail, great for dry brushing, great for painting. It does have some seam lines here and there, but if you are painting this kit, you will get rid of those seam lines anyway, so it's not really that big of an issue. The guardrails and everything are removable, so you can go ahead and paint them whatever color you want. And as well as masking, this thing looks great for like masking or custom paint. And I'm really looking forward to painting this, because I know that I started painting the base for the Sky Defender, and it's looking really good because of that extreme detail. And I feel like this is going to be the same. Now, as far as weapons go for this model kit, the Ixchel does include a few weapons. Now, it does include your really big beam rifle here, or buster rifle, I want to say. And then it also includes 4 blades and 4 small rifles. Now, these actually go attached to the wing unit, and you know, I will show you how to attach them once we get to the backpack area. But the actual thing that I wanted to talk about is that all these weapons are individual parts. These weapons do not have, is not a single piece of plastic put together. It does have a lot of part separation, which means that it's also great candidate for color separation when it comes to customizing your paint for your weapons. For the actual weapon itself, for these beams, you do have the extended form of the blade, but you can also go ahead and contract it, which is how you also sheath it when you put it in the backpack. All in all, it looks really nice whenever you are posing the model kit with the weapons. It does have great posability, so you don't have to worry about it looking too clunky. However, I do have to mention that when you are posing the model, again, always be very gentle, because, you know, as you all know, parts always fall off these Mecha core kits, and it's just something that I felt that they could avoid when they released this kit, but that wasn't the case. But we'll talk about that whenever we get to the model. And now for the crown jewel of this model, and it's going to be the Not Moon Gundam backpack. And I want to say that I have it set like this, and it was really hard to actually pose it like this to represent like the Gumbits from the Moon Gundam. But it does have a lot of mechanisms for articulation, so you can actually pose it however you want. And that is something that I really liked about this kit, that even though this is not meant to be a bit system, you could make it into a gun bit system if you actually had the stance. Mecha Core kind of fumbled on that. I feel like they should have at least added a little bit more when it came to this model kit for posing. Now, these also serve as wings and thrusters for the model kit, as you can see in some of the poses, and it just looks really good. Now, for the actual gimmick for this backpack is that this backpack is actually a weapon holder for all your weapons. Now, once you go ahead and contract all the weapons, you make sure you put everything away. This actually serves as a holder, which is great. Now, you can actually put the weapons or manage the weapons however you want. Myself, I went ahead and just set the blades to one end and the rifles on another end, so it just looks even. But if you do want to, you know, mix it up a little bit, then you could just go ahead and place the weapons like so, just to mix it up a little bit, or you can just make it look even, you know, rifles on one side and then blades on the other. Myself, I like it when it looks a little bit even, so I'll probably be switching this back whenever I do the final posing so I can display it on my cabinet. But just so you have an idea, this does have extreme mobility when it comes to the actual posing, so you don't have to worry about parts clunking together or anything like that. You just need to make sure that you take your time when you're posing it, because the parts are a little stiff, and that's a good thing. And now for the main event, which is going to be the Ixchel itself. Now, I am in love with this design, and I think it's because it gives me those Gundam 00 vibes when it comes to a model kit. And I want to start by saying that the color separation in this kit is insane. You do have multiple shades of blue. You have the orange. You have red. You have a few pieces that are gray. You have the armor separation here with different colors, where it goes into like light gray to white, you know, and it just looks so good. All the exposed armor pieces you can customize for paint, and everything just looks so uniform and sturdy, which is something that is very different when it comes to model kits that I'm used to building, because Mecha Core does have that knack of bringing up to the table lots of detail, lots of color separation, lots of part separation, and that is something that is really nice when it comes to their models, and I really hope that they keep that going. Now, going straight into the posability and mobility of the kit itself. The kit does have a lot of mobility because it's not just one big clunk of armor. It is a lot more conservative than most of their model kits. So you do have your side to side here. You can actually go all the way around with that head. You can actually bend the neck forward because it does have a joint in the back. Jumping straight into the shoulders do have that little gimmick to extend for extra posing. Jumping straight into the arms do go all the way around, and you do have flexibility to go up and down, and then your arm twists around as well. You do have a double jointed elbow for that elbow posing, but you know the downside to that is that you do not have a lot of play when it comes to your wrist, so just keep that in mind. That posability with your wrist might be a little limited. Now for the actual torso itself, you do have your bend from side to side, and it does have a lot of flexibility when you're bending side to side. The downside to that is that you do not have that big of a crunch. If you do a crunch, you might drop parts like I just did. So just keep that in mind whenever you are posing the model. Be very careful when you are posing it. He does not have a crunch, and he does not bend back, so it's just a stationary pose. You only get the side to side. You also can twist your model all 360 degrees for the waist there, in case you're trying to do a little bit of additional posing or torso twist, which is great. Now, I am going to talk about the waist because the waist has something that is very annoying, and it's going to annoy everyone that builds this model. Aside from the front flaps and the side flaps being completely sturdy and complete posable, I might add, the back flaps are not as good because of that. So one thing that I wanted to mention is that these are held by these small pegs that are put on the actual rear of the side skirt here. And even though it has a lot of color separation, every time you are posing, these are gonna fall off. And it doesn't mean that the model kit is bad, it just means that they at least could have extended those pegs a little bit more to hold on to that joint there, so that way it wouldn't just fall off. Aside from that, you do have your flaps for the wings, and you do have your flaps for the sides. And the reason why I love this is because having that flap that opens and overextends does help with posability when it comes to your actual action poses or dynamic posing. Aside from that, you do have your standard hip joint that actually moves forward as well for additional posing, and you do have your connection for your base as well. And like I mentioned before, you do have two connections for the bases. You do have one on the backpack, and then you have another one on the actual butt of the model kit. Now for the leg articulation, it does make a full split thanks to those side skirts being able to overextend. You do have an additional area where you can go ahead and move your hips forward and back, so that way you can get additional posability. Myself, I like my posing to be a little bit stiff on the stiff side, and there goes that rear flap falling off, so I usually don't do that. But aside from that, you do have full range of motion for these legs. And I did want to mention that in this model, the feature for the actual armor pieces for the legs is insane. So when you are going ahead and getting that double jointed knee to split it, the whole leg separates into parts. And I think that just looks so good. So even when you are going to paint this model kit, it is going to look so good whenever that actual part separates and you can see all those inner pieces for the armor. For the foot itself, you don't have a lot of range of motion, but you do have a little bit of the bend of the foot, and you do have a slight toe bend, which is actually pretty unique to this model because not a lot of models are bringing that lately, and I feel like that is actually super sturdy when you are posing. And for those panel line buffs and everybody out there, this thing has extreme level of detail when it comes to panel line, which means that if you are into a lot of panel lining, love rescribing or adding scribing to a model kit, this is definitely a perfect candidate. The model does stand on its 2 legs without any problems. I haven't had it fall yet. Now, I did have an issue where the backpack was a little bit too heavy depending on the angle that I was posing, and it would fall back, but the model was sturdy when it fell back. It would not bend backwards, it would just fall flat on the desk. So keep that in mind. It is a sturdy model kit and it does have a lot of gimmicks when it comes to posing, so just enjoy it for what it is. The not Moon Gundam, right? Because that's what everybody keeps calling it when I post it on social media. But is this model kit worth your time? 100%. You guys should go check it out. It is definitely a breath of fresh air when it comes to models. And I did enjoy the minimalist style of it. And that is it for today's video. If you do like my content, go ahead and like and subscribe. I did see that YouTube told me that, you know, 89% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel and they are returning viewers. So if you are returning to see my content, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That way you can go ahead and help the channel grow. It is free, and that way you can just enjoy good content. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you all next time.